Hi, everybody. Andrea Carvin here at Inner Sparks Rehab Gym and Spa. And today, after the holidays, as we're starting to think about next year, I want to talk to you about recent recommendations in high blood pressure, because some of the ways it's being presented in the media and information that's out there has just got my goat. And I'm like, my blood pressure is going up just listening to how this is being portrayed. New recommendations of 130 for systolic blood pressure. And what's being portrayed in the media is that these blood pressures, anything over that has to be treated. And my concern isn't the fact that we're looking at blood pressure, because we know blood pressure does increase risk factors for heart disease and stroke and all kinds of nasty things, but it's out of context. Because what I don't want to see, and what I think is really significantly challenging, is the disconnect between lifestyle and medication and blood pressure. In our current pharma environment, like, why are these recommendations coming down? What is the motivator of this? Are we looking more at what lifestyle, or is this going to be an opportunity to put people who have been on blood pressure medication to become even more dependent on blood pressure medication, when we know, and all of the research, you can look at WebMD, you can look at Mayo Clinic, and you can look at PubMed. All these really excellent resources talk about the link between lifestyle and blood pressure. So if we start to put medications on without addressing the underlying cause, what are the side effects of this medication? Is this going to actually get to the cause of the problem and really improve function and quality of life? And this needs to be looked at, and it is so overlooked at. So today, as a movement specialist, I want to talk to you about exercise and tips for those with high blood pressure, which, again, you can look at this for WebMD, because it is completely ignored. And as a cardiac rehab therapist, we used to, years and years ago, be guiding people and helping build people up to the point where they could exercise. And pharma now gets the bucks in giving blood pressure meds, and therapists have been moved out of, and people who know how to help and address lifestyle with blood pressure are not being part of the solution within the context of the healthcare community. And you need to empower yourself if this is you, because I promise you that even if you go on blood pressure meds, it's not going to be good for you to stay on them for the rest of your life, unless you're that small percentage whose bodies don't respond to lifestyle type issues. So let's talk a little bit about movement, because understanding what impacts blood pressure, and blood pressure is actually movement. Your body is squeezing your vessels and creating more and more pressure. Why is that happening? What's going on in your life? Is it stress? Is it your diet? Is it you're sitting a lot? So when you sit a lot, what happens to your muscles? Do they stay nice and toned, or does blood start to pool and you start to have more and more tension when you try to get up and move and you just don't want to? All these things contribute to blood pressure, and there's easy solutions. So in terms of exercise, not many people are really addressing it. And what you can see from WebMD, they have really, really good suggestions. They talk about aerobic exercise. They talk about strength training. They talk about stretching. They give you ideas about how often you ought to be doing something. And I can tell you, even their ideas, when you look at the research on activity, that if you can't do 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to exercise. So there's lots of literature out there that can support you. And what happens is when we start to find exercise or stress reduction techniques, which we know from the research that it's often environmental psychosocial stressors that will significantly lead to increased pressure. And you can look at that through the roof who are normally on sometimes on medication, sometimes not. The blood pressure can go high when there's threat, when there's fear, when your body isn't responding well, if you're sick. These are all things that are normal that create high blood pressure. And the issue isn't so much whether your blood pressure is going up, it's how much is it going up, and is this a trend or is this a response to what's going on? And this context is not being taught to people, so you really know how to start to address the problem, to empower yourself, and really learn how to take care of your body. So I recommend that you look at these resources. Please comment here if you have questions about exercise and how much to do. Even if you haven't been exercising and you want to start wherever you are. If 5 minutes is what you can do 5 minutes. Do it steady. Enjoy it. Find things that are fun. Put on music. Music will lower blood pressure. All of these things that help us reduce stress. Find what works for you and know that this can happen. And again, spread the word. Spread the word. If you know people who are having blood pressure problems, have conversations about what you've heard works. Doesn't mean you shouldn't go on the pressure meds if your doctor says that, but do not plan to stay on them. Plan to get to the underlying cause, because you'll be happier, your life will be richer, you won't be at risk for side effects down the road, and you might just find that there are things out there that really add to your life that you never even thought about. So that's our high blood pressure minute, bringing my blood pressure down by sharing some educational tips. And again, please share. We've got to get the word out. Pharma is not the best way for long-term solutions when it comes to blood pressure. Bye-bye, everybody.